Today I'm joined by Mina Neuberg from LA of wondermath.com, a learning platform for children to embrace maths and have a lifelong love of the subject. Am I right in encompassing it in that way, Mina?
Yes, Claire, I think you're 100% right. Thanks so much for having me on your podcast. I think that just to summarize, our goal of Wonder Math really is both to increase kids' skills and confidence in math, but more than anything to help them fall in love with the subject. Math is something that so many people are afraid of, and people are so quick to say they don't like because math gets hard. And so our goal at Wonder Math is to design a program and a curriculum that really helps kids fall in love with math and carry that with them for the rest of their lives.
I mean, it's really a difficult subject for a lot of children, isn't it? I mean, I know for me, maths, I did always kind of struggle with it. It was a shame because they make you feel like because you're not fantastic at maths, maybe you're not as intelligent, whereas skills are in other areas, aren't they? So language skills or creative skills, people skills, that kind of thing. But maths is underpins pretty much everything that we need to kind of do in terms of the work, the working world. Is that right?
Yes, that's a great question. So I think you're right. I think math is one of those subjects that when we start early on in elementary school, there's a right and a wrong answer. And so that doesn't feel good to be wrong. And you're right in terms of language arts and storytelling, there's much more of a wide range of kind of what's right. And so I think that really focusing on those outcomes of were you right or wrong is what discourages a lot of kids really early on. And so that's why at Wonder Math, and Wonder Math is really based on Carol Dweck's idea of growth mindset, which focused a lot on helping kids really focus on the process and on learning versus what is the outcome that you get. And so I think that the idea of really growth mindset is the power of yet. Is that we're going to get things wrong and we're going to make mistakes. And that's a really important part of the process. If we're getting everything right, we probably are doing things that are too easy for us. And so it's embracing the idea of guided struggle, the idea that you're going to get things wrong. And that's a really important part of the process to ultimately getting the right answer. But the answer is kind of that outcome of did you get it right or wrong is not what we're focused on. It's how do you kind of go through a process of making mistakes and learning from those mistakes so that you can ultimately get stronger in terms of having a mindset towards analytical problem solving and math. And the reason that our program is really focused on elementary school and it's such a critical time is it's not just a time where we build those skills. If we think about math and so many subjects like a big brick wall, you have to have a strong foundation, otherwise the top is shaky. And so really we're building that strong foundation in terms of skill, but more than anything, we're building a strong foundation in terms of confidence and in terms of enthusiasm, in terms of kind of self-perception. I mean, for us in the States, we see that like when you ask kids in third grade, are they good at math? 70% of them will say yes. But by the time they get to 11th grade and math is really hard, only 4 out of 10 of them will say yes. And that's a really big problem because obviously they're focused on the outcomes and they're focused on math being hard. But when we start shutting the door on those hard things, we close down kind of everything in our future from majors in college to careers to really opportunities like you and I know with entrepreneurship that are really hard. But, kind of going through that struggle and knowing like I can get to a better outcome if I'm willing to endure some struggle is really just such a crucial kind of brain path that we utilize math to do so. But I think that those skills carry over to so many different like life pursuits, majors, subjects, etc.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, going back to that idea of resilience and
Mm-hmm.
understanding that when you learn something, when you make a mistake, the research says that you learn more when you make a mistake. Your synapses fire more effectively when you make a mistake. So it's good to make those mistakes. And maths is a perfect kind of example of making those. Well, what's the worst that can happen if you make a mistake? You just try it again and you try it again, I suppose. So in terms of the parents then involvement in their kids' development with math, do you encourage parents to come onto the app or is it just for the children? How does that work?
That's a great question. So for For our program, it's a live Zoom-based program. So kids are, meeting in groups of 4 with a live credentialed teacher once or twice a week. And so they're meeting and they're going on this math adventure and they're playing the roles of different characters. And it's very collaborative in terms of the problem solving, but very personalized in terms of the attention. It's something that kids really are doing on their own. So they're logging in on their own. It's really for kids. But we send an email after every class of what was covered, how did your kid do, and here's some additional resources for how they can strengthen areas where they potentially need more work. So it's something where we keep parents really well informed, but most of us work. And so, needing to kind of rush our kids to a math center or be home to log our kids on is really challenging. So we've made this to be a program that kids, and our program starts with second graders, can really do on their own. They learn to do on their own, to log in on their own and kind of be supervised by the teacher there so that their parents don't need to do that.
So, with regards to the curriculum, is it aligned with the curriculum in the States so that the
Mhm.
kids are learning what, yeah, and they go to school
Yeah.
and they get in front sometimes? Does it help them to do that?
Yeah, exactly. So it's based on Common Core math, which is the kind of predominant shift in math in the US. And it's really important because parents like my age, we didn't learn Common Core math. We kind of learned that standard algorithm where you line everything up and you kind of answer in that really rote way. And math today, the way it's being taught to kids is much more conceptual. It's around mental math. It's around being able to take an idea and kind of look at it from all different sides, visualize it. And so what's hard is for parents, it's like, I don't know how to do that. That's not the way that so many of us learned math. And we didn't go back and relearn it. And it often causes a lot of frustration for parents because they feel like, yeah, I should be able to help my fourth grader with their homework. But I think what ends up happening, and I had this with my oldest daughter who, learned Common Core and wasn't, in this field at the time, and saying like, just do it the way that I learned it because it worked for me. So you should do it. And it caused a lot of battles, right? Because she'd say, that's not how we learned it. That's not how we're supposed to do it. I'm going to get in trouble if I do it that way. And so, really, a program that's going to speak the language that your kids are speaking and kind of reinforce Common Core is really helpful for kids learning it. And I think what's really important for parents, whether their kids are in Wonder Math or not, is we have a tendency as parents to say, well, why can't you just do it the way I learned it? It worked for me. And, or to say, it's okay that you don't know this crazy new way of doing math. I didn't do it. And I think we as parents really need to stop ourselves from doing that because it kind of undermines what the schools are trying to do. And I'm a total Common Core believer. Like I do think that mental math helps math stay more relevant for kids, helps them use it more, not need to pull out a paper and pencil every time they have to do kind
Yes,
of
it
basic
did.
calculations. So that's really helped. And I think it's tempting for our parents to say, well, why do my kids need to do it this new way? It worked fine for me. But I think that, as I said, undermines it. And it also can give kids an excuse for why they shouldn't have to learn it. They listen, what their parents say really is gospel. So if a parent says, yeah, I think this is a dumb way of doing math, it can give kids that excuse to maybe not learn it or kind of embrace it in a way that they could. But you're right. And thanks for bringing that up. Wonder Math, it's an all year program. So it's really effective in helping prevent the summer slide that happens. And we pre-teach material. So we teach material kind of mapped to US schools 1 to 3 weeks in advance. And so kids are being exposed to math concepts and kind of applications through Wonder Math, and then they're seeing it at school after. So they often are going into the class with more confidence. And it's pretty important because something that we've seen is, especially post COVID, is a real math anxiety. And math anxiety is something that's really grown in the US. It's kind of this fear of math, fear of getting it wrong. I saw a recent statistic that 59% of adolescents say that they have math anxiety. And that's a major issue because when kids have math anxiety and they're in a math class, it hurts their math achievement because it's disrupting the working functioning of their brain. It's disrupting working memory. It's disrupting executive functioning because that anxiety is kind of what they're thinking about rather than really processing the information and kind of being able to show their best. And so, it's something that teachers also say. We've had 67% of teachers say that math anxiety is really something that they see happening in the classroom and something that affects their ability to teach. So I think that addressing that math anxiety and having kids feel really confident about the struggle is part of the process. And that struggle, if you think about it, is like part of kids' brains growing, and even adults, our brains growing and our brains kind of being able to, as you said, have more synapses firing. And it's a really great thing to embrace that struggle shouldn't, it makes us uncomfortable because we don't know, but really that's where the growth happens. And so the more we can kind of embrace that puzzle or figuring out math like a puzzle is helping our brains grow. I think the better it is for reducing math anxiety and the better it is long term for math achievement for kids and adults.
So, I mean, the parents could learn something from this as well. It's not just for the not just for the kids, a new method of learning. Because we learned in the same. But how did you get to become a tech entrepreneur then?
This is definitely, yes. It's funny because it's really a different path for me. I was one of those kids, and I would say girls, who in the 80s and 90s when I was growing up was told, like, it's okay. You're not a math person. Don't worry about it. You're the social kid, and it wasn't until I went decided to get my MBA that I realized, wow, I am really not confident in math. It was the thing I tried to avoid. So I actually went to UCLA for undergrad. And before I went back to business school at UCLA, I actually went to community college and I took statistics classes and economics classes to try to both prove to UCLA that I was worthy of going for my MBA and to try and strengthen those math skills. And it was really the mindset shift more than the material that for me I had to adjust to and I had to adapt because it was something I wanted to avoid. I wanted to avoid the subject. I wanted to avoid, needing to do it. And it was something I really had to kind of look at in myself and say, this is something I have to get good at. Like, I can't keep avoiding this because it closed so many doors.
Yeah.
I couldn't be in business. I couldn't be in marketing. I couldn't kind of do the things I wanted to do if I wasn't willing to really say that math was going to be part of my daily life. So it's something I had to work on for myself. I went down a marketing path. I was in branding and a marketing executive. And then my daughter, my oldest daughter, I have four kids. When she was in third grade, she told me she wasn't good at math. And I remember her saying, I'm not good at math because Sheila, who sits next to me, is better than me at math. And I could see that just kind of like taking hold inside of her brain. And I decided, like, I just don't want her to go down the same path because I see when you start kind of closing those doors, the ripple effect that it has in terms of how many things you really turn away from. And I think that it can lead kids to turning away from careers and opportunities to avoid math rather than feeling like, wow, I have so many choices because this is a skill that I'm competent at. And so for my daughter, I ended up finding Wonder Math. I enrolled her in Wonder Math and I had nothing to do with it at the time. And she now is in college and she's an applied math major in college. And so I
Like,
just saw, yeah,
really?
yes, she is.
Wow.
And so I think that I really saw the power of
Yeah.
of kind of that ability to shift and the ability to say this is something that I can be good at and it can be fun.
Yeah.
And Wonder Math uses a lot of characters and a kind of a lot of really fun methodology, a lot of gamification and incentives to just make it fun. And it helped her feel like she was a math person. Ultimately, the opportunity came up to kind of take over leadership of Wonder Math, and that's what I did. And so now I'm running Wonder Math, but I really just started as a parent who was a believer, and I put all my kids in it, and I referred it to my friends' kids, and I really saw the power to kind of change the way
Yeah.
kids saw themselves, and that's what appealed to me. And maybe it appealed to me because it was something I felt organically that I had to do for myself. And so then finding a program that could help with that seemed great.
So it was like you tried and tested it and you had a really strong why for doing it, didn't you?
Mhm.
It was really, really important to you and it changed you could see how it could change lives.
Yeah, I think, and this is a bit of a divergence, but I think like financial freedom for women is really important. And we think about it for ourselves, but I see it even at younger generations. I see how when you're willing to turn away from math, as a woman, you're turning away from financial freedom and financial independence. And I think that's a really, really unconscious choice that women sometimes make, but it's a super meaningful choice. And to me, Wonder Math is a start at women and girls saying that they can own math, therefore they can own finances, they can own personal finances. And I really think it
Yeah.
is the path towards freedom, is financial freedom. And so this is just a kernel. It's a kernel and kind of going on that pathway. But that's something I feel really strongly about for women in
Yeah.
general. And I think this is a really good way to start.
Yeah, it's such a good point as well because when we are not strong with figures, when we're not mathematically up there with the boys, what about all the coders, all the computer scientists? We need more women in STEM subjects. Maths is a really good starting point for that. Even in my business, we use a lot of developers. and the 80% of them are male because they're just not coming through. They're not coming through the education system. It's so hard to get female coders, so hard to get female developers. And these are the people, the developers, if you think about it, are the people writing the code from a male perspective,
Hmm.
oftentimes, and so we need that balance so that tech is more democratized. But it starts, like you said, from the very kernels of having a basic mathematical understanding, because some of these computer science concepts are very, very complex. Maths should, I suppose, is it 80% confidence, do you think? What's the split between confidence and maybe natural ability?
I don't think, listen, it's a skill that can be learned. Absolutely. But I think it's more than confidence, it's mindset. I think it's like, that feeling when you go into a test and you're like, I don't know anything here. And you can freak out and just say, like, walk away. Or you can say, I don't know anything here, but what do I know? What can I figure out? What can I put down? How can I start to kind of answer what I know and build from there? And I think that mindset is actually the difference. I think the ability to say, I know some pieces and I know this is going to be hard. And I'm not expecting to get here and already know the answer. I'm expecting to get here and need to figure it out and need to struggle, need to be confused, and need to really work through it. And if I'm willing to do that, then I'm going to get most of the answers right, not all of them, but it's a completely different mindset to go and expecting things to be easy and quick to figure out and know the answers versus expecting to not know the answers and need to figure it out. And it's that kernel of mindset that I actually think is the biggest difference rather than skills. But I think that having the mindset to know that I can figure out complex problems and it's going to be uncomfortable, but I can work on it. That is what builds confidence and that is what builds ability. Like that's the thing that if you can, I think, get kids and adults and teens to feel, then I think the world becomes their oyster and math becomes just a part of it versus math is like that feeling that I
Yeah,
want to avoid.
yeah, that it's almost the gremlin on your shoulder, isn't it? Oh no, I'm really bad at math. I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. It's depressed. It just I freeze when I feel, when I come to numbers, not me personally, but I know people like
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
And you're thinking, well, I don't know how to unlock that. My daughter as well, she could have really done with wonder math because I spend so much money on tutors to get her through
Hmm.
final exams. I mean, finally she did pass it, but she was determined. And there was something missing. There was something missing in school to
Yeah.
help her to overcome that fear, that absolutely paralyzing fear of being out. She was frightened, actually frightened of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost a phobia, I think, sometimes with numbers for some people.
Right. Because I think it's that feeling that I should know the answer immediately. And if I get it wrong, then I'm bad. And I think that what Wonder Math does, and I think the
Yeah,
philosophy of growth mindset is to say, you may not know how to do it yet, but you can work on getting there. And I think it's really empowering to feel like you can go into a situation and kind of figure it out versus if you go into a situation and you don't know the answer immediately, then the die is cast and you're sunk. So I think what we're really doing is trying to teach the mindset around it's okay to struggle and that's part of the process of figuring it out and that's what makes your brain grow and that's what makes it easier the next time. So it's really kind of forward thinking. And so what we're seeing is working with kids, for example, who have ADHD, which is, some of the kids that we serve, it really helps them build those kind of executive functioning skills to say, this is hard now, but it will be easier in the future. And to kind of give them like incentives and rewards to just kind of keep going with it, because then you can look back and see how far you've come. So I think that's really helpful. I think the phobia that you've talked about, we also work with a number of homeschool kids, and a lot of the worksheets that we see in school, homeschool kids aren't doing in the same way. And so for homeschool kids, it's a curriculum that really mirrors this idea of focusing on mental math, focusing on growth, kind of having some, you do need some repetition to make sure that that concept is really sunk in, but it's really helping to think about math from many different angles and integrate it into the world. So it has real world applications versus just doing rote worksheets that are, you may get that skill down, but if you are at a program or a school that just has you doing worksheet after worksheet, it's really hard to build a love of math. It's really hard to build an interest in math because it's boring. That's
yeah,
boring.
yeah.
And math doesn't have to be boring.
Yeah, it is. It's just boring. I think the kids are sat there thinking, "I'd rather stick pins in my eyes than sit and do this. One of my favorite phrases. But I think in terms of the program for kids, I mean, thinking about it, there must be a lot of adults who would benefit from something like this. Would that be, with your entrepreneurial mind, is there an opportunity there for you for adult gaming maths?
I think it's a great idea. I think that we expect our kids to be much more flexible than we expect of ourselves. And I think also, frankly, we are more willing to make our kids do things that are uncomfortable sometimes than we are for ourselves.
Yeah.
So
So
if we had adult demand, sure, we can figure something out. But I think that it's, I mean, you personally, as a parent, it's like I want my kids to surpass me. So I'm like, you have to do those really uncomfortable things that I wish somebody made me do. So I think that it's like kind of going to the gym for your brain, right? So it's like
right, yeah,
it's this idea of like saying I'm going to work it out for my brain, where there may be opportunities, as we look at the research on longevity, and we look at research on like health, like long-term health and long-term brain health, right? That growth and learning a new language, learning a new skill is what helps our brain stay fresh and staves off dementia. So I do see, kind of anyone who's interested in like long-term growth and learning and opportunity, I'm happy to talk to them, happy to develop something for them.
well, your enthusiasm and your passion for it, it's very difficult to not feel like, yeah, I can do this now. So I'm sure you'd have the grown-ups queuing up as well, Mina. Just as a kind of closing question, it's been amazing having you on and learning about your wonderful products and service. What would you advise grown-ups, parents, if they're struggling, if their child is struggling, what would be the first thing that they would need to do to help that child overcome those hurdles?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the first is understanding. I think that it's really hard sometimes as a parent. We have so much going on. There's more and more demands, I think, on parents' time. Like there's more of an expectation of like, give your whole heart to work and your whole heart to parenting and your whole heart to your community and your whole heart to what's going on in the world. I feel that there's so much being asked of all of us today. And so it's really hard to find patience. And I think that listening and really understanding what is not working for your kid, what part of it is really hard, what part of it is frustrating, and trying to have that deeper understanding and really listen to what's going on is kind of the first part of solving any problem, and trying to understand from their perspective what's hard. And I think having the patience to not say, just don't worry about it. That's
Mm.
stupid. The way they're doing it is stupid. You don't need to worry about that. I think also trying to have the kids have empathy for why are we learning in this new way? What do you think that we're learning from it? What are the long-term goals that we can try to get to? I think that's a great first step in most situations, and particularly in hard subjects in school.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Mina. It's been pretty enlightening for me as well. And I just wish that I'd had it and my daughter had had it as well. Can't tell you. It's available in the States, it's available globally, UK. Anyone can join online. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. If you go to wondermath.com,
Yeah.
yes, and you can check it out. And we have our enrollment is we offer classes. We kind of follow the sun in the US. So we have classes kind of all afternoon and evening and weekends for kids. But we also can set up individual classes for groups of kids. You can just email info@wondermath.com, and we are happy to serve kind of anybody globally. That's the beauty of the Zoom platform, is that we can set up classes at any time if we have groups of kids that want to do it. And it's the beauty of having a live instructor, but being on Zoom.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I've really enjoyed talking with you, and we'll include the link to your wonderful website in this podcast as well, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course. We'd love that. Thank you.
Amazing, no problem, Mina. Okay, I'm going to cut it there, and then I'll edit it out and everything like that. You okay with that? So have you got everything that you wanted to kind of get across?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
didn't have,
yeah,
yeah, I was
great.
trying. I think your questions made it very easy.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So it was like, yeah, no problem. Easy, easy.
I'll answer these questions. So brilliant. So what I'll do is I'll edit it over in the next few days, maybe Tuesday, Wednesday. I'll try and get it over to you as quickly as I can. And then you can do kind of what you like with it, because we will also I'll put it on my LinkedIn. And then I do big mail outs. I do kind of 8,000 emails a month. So I can say, look, we've got these episodes and these episodes, check them out. And the idea is that it's relationship marketing for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all benefiting from the content. So
Yeah.
you can repurpose it and you can have it. Actually, do you want the transcript of the conversation so you can turn it into a blog post or something like that? Would that be useful or is that overkill?
No,
Do
I'll
you want?
take it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I'm at the start of my like not so much my marketing journey, but like more modern marketing. I had been doing a lot of like direct to school marketing, and where it's really hard. So we're kind of transitioning to. I love what you're doing. It's super smart way of kind of getting out there and meeting people, and so I'm really also learning from you in this process.
Yeah, I mean, just jump on as many podcasts as you can. They're quite difficult to get on, but because this is a new podcast, it's just a great opportunity because it's new. But over time, the compound effects. This is mathematical for me. The compound effects of everybody sharing the video. You'll share it, I'll share it, and then anyone else who's doing a podcast, they're all going to get directed to our YouTube channel where the podcast is hosted. And then we create a kind of ecosystem of referrals. And I know somebody who does that. I know somebody who does that, and it's not costing anybody anything. Well, apart from me. from do- from doing the time, but
Yeah.
over time, you do end up getting referrals. It's not a quick hit, but it's a long term, like I said, relationship marketing. I absolutely love it. I go to like a lot of networking, a lot of events, and I think I'll speak to parents and I'll go, oh, and they'll talk about the kids. You'll be having a conversation with someone when you go to a networking event. We've all got, majority of us have got kids. I've got three of my own that are grown now. And, it's, oh, they're struggling. Oh, well, actually, I know Mina, she does this. If she really was, she's dead passionate about what she does. I can trust her and I can trust to say, go and have a look, that kind of thing. I think it's a bit of a no-brainer, really. So yeah, I mean, it's amazing, honestly, to see how passionate you are about it. It really, really is, and especially the angle on women and girls. I mean, honestly, it's a crucial. I see it in tech all the time. It's so frustrating that you just can't get the girls that are doing the STEM subjects because the maths is poor. My daughter absolutely loves physics. She loves physics, but she didn't get a grade A in her maths, so they won't let her do physics, even though she loves it because she didn't get a grade A in her GCSE. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, GCSEs are also crazy. Like how quickly you specialize is like, that's very different than the States. So it's interesting.
Yeah, they drill down. There's a lot of pressure. So she's doing A levels
A lot of
now.
pressure.
And this is the thing because I worked in schools for years in primary and some secondary as well. I did an education degree, and I remember just feeling so sad for the kids in the system in England, in Britain, because they are tested all of the time. Like they've just got so many exams from ages of 6, and then they have another one at 10, and then there's another one at 12, and the poor kids, just give them a crayon, let them do some drawing,
Hmm.
something that's not quite so pressured.
Hmm.
But yeah, this sounds like it could be when how is your take up on it? Have you got some good take up on it?
I think that to know it is to love it, but it's really hard to get the word out about it. You know what I mean? Like there's just so many competitive programs and it's hard if you're I think a layperson to truly see the differences because you look at them and it's like, well, how's this different than Kuma? How's it different than math? Like all these highly advertised competitors. And I think it's really different, but I think it's a nuance of like, no, you're not going to a center and you're not just doing workshop, worksheet. It's about loving math. Okay, well, how's it different than Beast Academy? Okay, well, Beast Academy is, what I mean? Like, it's so saturated to like wade through and really try
Everything,
to explain it.
everything is saturated, Mina. There's not
Mm,
a thing on the planet that's not saturated. The best way to market yourself is to market you, is to
mm,
personal marketing and talk about, the personal branding. They talk a lot about personal branding, but people buy people. And
mm,
the only thing that sets your platform apart is you. You're the only unique, if you see what I mean. Yeah, a platform,
mm-hmm.
the marketing might be really slick, but ultimately parents want to buy from somebody they trust. So if I were you, I would focus on doing local radio as well, try and get interviews at as many local radio stations as you can, as many local podcasts as you can, and give yourself a target of maybe trying to get 2 or 3 a month in. And reach out to them and say, look, can I come onto your podcast if you don't mind? I'll write you a blog post or I'll do something. I'll mention your podcast on my, just do that reciprocal thing.
Mm-hmm.
Especially on LinkedIn as well. So if you put some case studies on LinkedIn about actual what's happened, like you've told me some amazing stories today, about how it affects kids' confidence and your daughter, and look what she's doing,
Mm-hmm.
what you've encouraged her through, and that in itself is incredible. And that's the kind of story that parents go, oh my god, yeah, actually, and you have taken a big gamble on something that you really, really believe in. And not many entrepreneurs do that. They're taking a gamble on something they know they're going to make money on, and that's a very different thing.
Mm-hmm.
You're not in it for the quick hit. You're in it because it's changing lives. There's a meaning to it. There's a real why to what you're doing. So I would double down on that if I were you.
Mm. So you're saying you would utilize LinkedIn and do more that personal piece, because I haven't. It's been much more like going to schools and trying to get schools to let their families know about Wonder Math. It has nothing to do with me.
No, well, that's where your personality branding comes into it, because you've got the personality to go out and do all this PR. So what you need is PR. You just need PR, local PR. So, write yourself a press release, get a nice, get a decent photo of you sat with a kid with a computer or whatever, you in it, and start nominating yourself for local business awards and things like that. Just start
Mm.
getting pushing yourself out there. I'm the founder of this because it changed my daughter's life, and it's changed my life, and I've seen how much confidence. And then a few case studies, and the kids get some testimonials from the parents, splash those all over your website. People just want trust, like and trust you, and that's what they buy. And
Mm.
so you could even, this is a little bit more effort, but you could even write a book. It doesn't need to be a massive book, but it could be this is a really good vehicle as well to get onto podcast. If you've got a book about writing about how making mistakes, or think of something really catchy that is to do with maths and confidence for children, for parents, the pain point of what those parents are feeling. I know I was like worried sick because my daughter's future was at stake if she didn't pass one ridiculous GCSE, and it's like they don't need to feel like that. So think about the biggest pain point that parents have with their children in maths and start talking about that.
Mm.
And it's fear. Fear is the biggest pain point. Fear of failure, most likely.
Mm-hmm. What it brings up for me, what I was just thinking about is, and because it's such a big thing here, is this: the fear of failure has completely taken root here because of the college admissions process. The college admissions process in the US has gotten so cutthroat that when kids make mistakes and they get a B, college admissions counselors say, you're out. Those ones, they're all off your list now. We really don't allow kids to fail. That's why there's such a deep fear of it, is because I think the college admissions process is it is training us to be so afraid of failure and afraid of mistakes, with good reason, that it's poisoned. I think it's poisoned a lot of our mindsets.
And that is what you need to hang your hat on in your marketing. It's like, that's the biggest fear. It's you can help to build up the kids' confidence. You can help prevent all that horrible catastrophic, whatever's going to go on, soul destroying rejection later on, if they just pay attention to what this program can offer. Don't go in for the hard sell on the platform. You need to go in for the sell on solving the problem. And the platform is just a vehicle to do that. What you're there to do is give those kids confidence. How am I going to do that? I'm going to do it with nurturing, understanding, and patience, and enjoyment and excitement. And that's what we deliver here. We deliver confidence for your children. Every parent wants a confident kid. The math side of it, yeah, but the math is something that turns people off. We already know that. So we've got to go in on what do we want for our children? We want them to be confident. I can help you to do that. And we do that with this vehicle. That's exactly what your argument was at the very beginning of the discussion. It was the underpinning foundation of the tower. So on that note, I'm going to let you go.
Thank you.
Hope it's been enjoyable for you, and it certainly has for me. And I will get that all over to you as soon as I come in.
Thank you, Claire. Wonderful talking to you.
No,
I hope we stay in touch.
We will. Don't worry. I'll speak to you very soon.
Thank you, Claire. Bye bye.
Bye.